Okay, so our first video for week 1 is dealing with why some teachers choose to make decisions that facilitate technology integration in their classrooms and why teachers choose not to support integration of technology into their classroom. So I'm starting off with Google, and actually the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my Google Drive to open up a new document, so that way I can kind of keep track of my notes as I'm going through this process and thinking and keeping track of different ideas that I have. And as an English teacher, I'm all about brainstorming and trying to get some thoughts down ahead of time to help navigate the thought process. So my first thing that I'm going to do is actually type up the heading. Why to integrate technology into the classroom is going to be my focus. And I'm going to put teacher preference as a side note. And then actually what I'm going to do, one of the tools that I teach my children or my students is to kind of create a table. And we're just going to start off with a 3x1 table. And I'm going to put fact / quote as the first box, the website title, and then the web address as the third box. So that way I can kind of keep track of my information as I go. And inserting more along the way. Oops, I didn't want to insert that in there. Let's undo that. That was my mistake. Add in more boxes as I go along. Just start off here, and we'll get a nice 10 right there. So I have this as a tool that I can refer back to when I find something that I think is beneficial for either the why teachers include or why teachers do not include. I can copy and paste that and keep track of my sources as well. So now that I have that open, I'm just going to go back to Google. Oops. Google, not Google Drive. And we're going to just type in technology integration into the classroom and see what pops up first. A lot of times I encourage students to go into the scholarly aspect, but for starting purposes at this point, I just kind of want to get some ideas flowing in my own mind before I go into the scholar aspect of Google and look up things. So the first one that I see here is Edtopia. So I open up my windows in a separate box so that way I can go back and forth. Sometimes I like to have a variety of windows open at the same time so that way I can compare information right then and there, as well as that gives me my initial search so I can see what I've done here as if I need to go in and tweak the search bar a little bit to try and refocus my research that I am looking for. Alright, so educational integration, explore new teaching tools and technologies for empowering students to fully participate in a connected, technology-rich society. Okay, that's what I want. Do we have any? We have some videos here, some browsing. Oh, so this is more of just a web search. Found a variety of different things. Articles. I see blogs and articles here to incorporate my search. Okay, well, this is not what I was originally thinking it was, but I think it might work. Let's see what some of our articles are talking about here. Digital citizenship, travel around the world from your classroom, iPad apps, using multimedia technology for teaching social and life skills, Digital Citizenship Week, 6 resources for educators, our tools shape us, guide to game-based learning, teacher PD for the digital classroom, 6 bold ideas to empower educators. I kind of like the sound of that one. Let's open that one up and see what we can get. Okay, and I realize it's a blog by, looks like a Senior Director of Education Content, Common Sense Education. Let's see what she has to say. Training and support for teachers on the effective use of educational technology is key to enhancing learning in the connected classroom. Well, while that's clear, that doesn't really tell us why teachers choose to do this. Share perspective on teaching key issues such as how schools of education can prepare incoming teachers for network learning, why administrators need ways to incorporate. Alright, 6 top takeaways. Allocate more time for professional development. Reimage the ecosystems and offerings. Move from 20th to 21st century training. Change the school culture. Redefine leadership. Create meaningful mentorship opportunities are our 6. I'm not really sure that any of those are focusing on why some teachers incorporate technology or not. It doesn't seem like it's right offhand. Looking at this closer, I see information like move from the 20th to 21st century training. Called on teacher training colleges to prepare teachers as innovators by focusing on tech integration that is deeply embedded in subject matter as opposed to offering standalone lessons on how to use technology. While I agree with that on a teaching level, I really don't think that's going to help me come up with reasons why teachers integrate or choose not to integrate technology. Further down here, though, I see one that pops up. It says, panelists repeatedly stress that teachers will experiment, take risks, and try new approaches with ed tech if they feel trusted and supported in their school and community. Panelists agree that failing is part of a process and must be encouraged by administrators. So I kind of like that, and the fact that that might be one of the reasons why teachers choose not to, because they don't feel that they will have their support from their administration. So if I wanted to try and create a blog for my classroom and my administration didn't necessarily think that was a good idea or didn't really want me to try that approach because it put kids out on the web and it might not necessarily be censored to where kids can be ensured safety online, that if I wasn't sure I could have support from my administrators, I don't think that's something that I would do. So I'm going to actually copy that little factoid and go back to my document. We're going to paste it right on in. We'll yes, allow access. Okay, and so this is this one, and copy the web address. Put it back there. So that way we can have the web address. So if I need to go back to it. She kind of talks about this as well. There's our title. Okay, and I see that I didn't title this, so we're going to change this to why not integrate tech into classes. That's what we'll call it for right now. So that way I can have that. That's nice and saved. Okay, I don't really think there's much more on this article that I'm going to get that's going to tell me why. And I think actually now that I've seen some of the information that I'm getting, that I might need to switch my original search. So we're going to go back to Google and we're going to add in reasons to reasons why technology, reasons why, nope, still not liking that thing, reasons to integrate technology into the classroom, and see what we have here. Nope, we have another Edtopia. Such an abundance of information from this one source. I do love it. Why integrate technology into the curriculum? The reasons are many. Wow, that sounds like it's perfect, just what I need. There's a place for tech in every classroom. Ooh, I like that idea. I wonder if that's something that I could incorporate if I'm going to go with pros. So we're going to paste that over. Come back oops, undo. We're going to copy this, copy that. That's my header. Come back here. Oh, let's copy my URL. And hopefully that worked. Oops, I copied up. My bad. Copy this. Do it old school with the clicking. And paste it in there. And actually, because I have so many different ones going on here, I'm going to start color coding some of this information. And we're going to pick blue. No, blue is a little too close to the online text, so maybe we'll go with red. And then we'll pick a green. Ooh, that's really hard to see. Let's go with a darker green. That's better. So that way I can kind of distinguish. Red is for against incorporating technology, and greens go kind of like a stoplight. Good reasons why you should, and then reasons why you shouldn't. Stop and go. Alright, let's look back at the article. Technology is ubiquitous, touching almost every part of our lives, our communities, our home, yet most schools lag far behind when it comes to integrating technologies. Many are just beginning to explore the true potential tech offers for teaching. Really use technology. Technology will help students acquire the skills they need to survive in a complex, highly technological, knowledge-based economy. That's a true fact, but what does that mean for the classrooms? Integrating technology into classroom instruction means more than teaching basic computer skills and software programs in a separate computer class. Effective tech integration must happen across the curriculum in ways that research show deepen and enhance the learning process. It must support 4 key components of learning: active engagement, participation in groups, frequent interaction, and feedback, and then connection to real-world experts. Effective tech achieve. Alright, so that's telling me about it. Does it tell me? Oh, I see the spelling error. Many people believe that technology enabled is the NE plus. I don't know what that means. Learning through projects will equip projects help connect students to experts in the real world. Alright, so looking at this has got some good little tidbits coming up here. Properly used technology will help students acquire the skills they need to survive in a complex, highly technological, knowledge-based economy. I think that is true as to why it should be involved, but I'm not really sure if that tells us why teachers choose or choose not to. Not sure what to do with that little tidbit. Same thing with this one. Effective tech integration must happen across the curriculum in ways that research shows deepen and enhance the learning process. It doesn't tell us why we should integrate or why teachers choose, so I think that we might have to, I'm not sure. I don't think there's anything that's going to really help me answer my initial question about why. This is reasons why, reasons to integrate. Some reasons, we're going to switch this and go reasons why teachers integrate technology and see what we get there. Why do we need technology integration? Let's see what this one pops up for us. Oops, I can close this previous one down. Alright, why do we need to integrate technology, why do we need technology integration? Okay, here we go. Technology, where's almost that same line? It's transparent. Most houses have connected computers, and the price of technology dropped computers, digital television, pioneering. Now walk into a classroom. Are there computers, and if so, how are they being used? Are they being used at all? Technology has revolutionized the way we think, work, and play. Technology, when integrated into the curriculum, revolutionizes the learning process. True, still does not tell me why teachers are using it. More and more studies show that technology integration in the curriculum improves student learning processes and outcomes. Okay, so that might be why, because studies are showing that technology integration is helping the learning process. Okay, that's a good little tidbit to know. last word I was missing. Oops. Smaller screen. Why you went to, I don't know. Computers are funny sometimes. Teachers who recognize computers as problem-solving tools change the way they teach. They move from a behavioral approach to a more constructivist approach. Technology and interactive media are more conducive to project-based learning. Students are engaged in their learning using these powerful tools and can help become creators and critics instead of just consumers. Okay. I kind of like this whole thing. It's a big little chunk, but it still tells why teachers are doing this. They've changed their approach to be more project-based, and students can be creators and critics instead of just assuming this. So because this is the same website, I'm just going to number this one Y. However, I don't want necessarily number 1. I don't want the format. So we're going to put 2 here, and we'll paste that in. This tells us that teachers move from a behavioral approach to a constructivist approach. It doesn't tell us why, so I'm going to get rid of that fact. Technology and interactive are conducive to project-based learning. And then this is another reason students are engaged. Oops, undo autocorrect. Are engaged in their learning and use these powerful tools, creators and critics, instead of just consumers. I think that's a big part of why teachers are incorporating technology into their classroom, is because now the students can actually physically, hands-on, engage with the material, rather than just saying, you know, here is a text, read it. Students can go into it, if you have the capabilities, and physically mark up the text so they are engaged with that text, and then if a word pops out at them or if there's something that they're not sure about, the technology's at their fingertips that they can open up another window and browse from there and make more connections. Once they have read, say, a story, for example, as I was using, they can go and now connect it to maybe a YouTube video, or have them create their own video that characterizes a similar theme. Or in science, they record their own experiments and tell about their hypothesis and how it worked, and then they can showcase the results. So they're actually engaging with their learning rather than having it shown for them. I completely agree with that. Hands-on is one of the best ways for students to engage. You physically are doing something, and by physically doing that engages more components of your brain to help reinforce that learning and store that learning in a deeper part of your brain in the long-term portion rather than the short-term portion. So all of this, though, I think is still going with the why teachers should, so we're going to highlight that green. And then let's go back to the article and see what else we got. Another reason for technology integration is it's the necessity for students to have 21st century skills. These skills: personal and social responsibility, planning, critical thinking. Okay, we have those skills. What else do we got? Okay, reasons are many. We just kind of looked at that one. That's why, but that wasn't giving us a lot of why teachers integrate. It tells why technology should be, but it doesn't tell why teachers choose to be. This day and age, teachers still have some choice, not a lot, but some choice within their classrooms on what they do. And so we need to really think about that part. Technology helps change the student and teacher roles and relationships. Students take responsibility for their learning outcomes, while teachers become guides and facilitators. Technology lends itself as a multidimensional tool that assists with that process. Oh, wow. Technology helps change the student and teacher roles, guides and facilitators. Research has shown, as far as I know, that students' brains have changed from where they were 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, and how they react to information. Students, with the technology that they have with their online gaming systems, or their smartphones or apps or anything like that, their brains absorb information at a higher level to the point where a lecture is something that completely just glosses over them because they're not stimulated within their heads, within their brains. And so because of that, teachers must become guides and facilitators is a big component on how this relationship changes. But it still does not necessarily tell us why teachers incorporate it or why teachers choose not to. So while we got some good information from this article, I think I'm done with it at this point. So I'm going to exit out of that one and go back to my original web search, and let's see what else we have. We have another how to integrate, why do we need to integrate, how to integrate, why integrate technology in teaching, 10 reasons why students need technology, technology integration strategies, 5 reasons to add technology to your classroom. Let's see what that one says. That sounds reasons why you should. Let's see if that gives me a good argument. TheInspiredClassroom.com is where this one's coming from. Simple notion, technology, enormous part of contemporary life. Why shouldn't it be incorporated in part of education? Some school systems don't appear to grasp the concept. That's true. There are some school systems that do not support incorporating technology. They believe it should be in maybe a computer class, and that's about it. Monetary, yes, technology is quite costly. Foreignness, I think that's another portion. Problem, here we go, right there. That's 2 reasons why. Portion of the problem is monetary. Technology is costly, and another portion is foreignness. You do not have 21st century learners as teachers yet. They are still, the 21st century learners are still students. Some might be on the outskirts of their education, but they're not to the point where they're in the classrooms yet. So you have your, forgive the expression, old school teachers who are used to the sit and lecture style because it worked for them for the last 25 years, and they don't know how to incorporate things like a Prezi or even a PowerPoint or how to create a blog. And the expression is, can't teach an old dog new tricks. You know, so for some of those old dogs, technology is something that they are not willing to put time and effort into. They've been a teacher for 25 plus years, and it's been working with them the way they're going to do it, so why should they change? And so I think that foreignness is a big part of this. So we are going to copy this and put it into a new box. And that's going to be highlighted red, because that's one of the reasons why. It's 2 actually, so we're going to number it up. Number 1, and then we'll do number 2. Okay, and then our title is 5 reasons to add technology to your classroom, and it's from Inspired Web. Oops, highlight, thank you. Doesn't look like my whole website copied here. So we'll have to try it again. Hopefully we get the whole thing. There we go. That time it worked. Alright. Teachers don't know how to use it, so how can they demonstrate its use to kids? But as increasing numbers of children have the opportunity to become plugged into technology in the classrooms, positive effects are evident. Here are just 5 reasons why technology works so well in the classroom. Okay? I think this is also, if teachers don't know how to use it, and this is supposed to be the new technology or the greatest way to include or introduce this to students, if they don't know how to use it, how can you teach it? Okay, when I was in school, which my bachelor's degree was not that long ago, but I took one class on educational technology. And I hardly remember it. I think the most I had to do was create some digital, very awkward website that was never really even used. I created it and that was it. I didn't have to have materials on it. I didn't have to have lessons. I didn't post like all of my work that we did throughout the semester on it. It was just like the culminating project, and it just had to be, all right, here's my background, here's my name, here's some information about me, and that was it. And honestly, I didn't really get a lot out of that class, and I'm a younger teacher. So how are we expecting older teachers to know this information automatically? It's not like it's necessarily something that they are going to actively seek out. Interest, practicality, knowledge, flexibility, awareness. Let's see here. Let's see what we got. Kids like the newest thing is simple, true, the way grab it by teaching them the newest gadget on the market. Half your time in class is spent in effort to make kids listen and apply what using laptops, tablets allows to relate their learning in observable, immediate ways. Technology is now a necessary skill in the workplace. Use computers. Try to pick up things, but most companies first in teach them how to use the programs that more employers want. All right, there's a few things that, I mean, they make some valid points, but nothing that's just telling why technology works in the classroom, as opposed to doesn't give us more reasons why. Yes, if you were to incorporate it, you might grab something more interest, practicality. I don't think it really tells us why teachers choose to do it. It's more why you should do it. And I'm kind of feeling I'm a little picky on this topic, but I'm trying to get to the root of why teachers choose. There's other posts here. Those. Nope, think any of those related posts are going to get me what I want. So we'll exit out of that one and continue on our way. Let's see what Google suggests. I love the suggestion box for Google's ways to integrate among pieces. Benefits of integrating. Integrating technology in the classroom using instructional strategies. How does it impact students? Why teachers integrate technology? Why teachers? I wonder if we added the word choose to why teachers choose to integrate technology and see what I can get. Let's see, this is a PDF. Teachers who are confident in their ability to choose and incorporate instructional technology. Okay, let's see what this PDF opens up. What our excerpt tells us. Tech standards challenge teacher education programs to express the need to produce computer literate teachers who are confident in their ability to choose and incorporate instructional technology in their classrooms. The purpose of this paper is to provide a description and analysis of the effects of training sessions on pre-service teachers' ability to evaluate and integrate instructional technology into the mathematics classrooms. Okay, the training session promoted the pre-service teachers' awareness of, appreciation for, and confidence in their ability to analyze, select, and craft technology-based mathematics lessons. Ooh, I don't know. I'm not a math person. This one might be kind of hard for me to read. Let's see if I can skim through and pick up on some stuff. Linking technology with curriculum has caused significant changes in teaching and learning. To include promoting skills higher. It doesn't really tell us why. Teachers who receive training in the area were found more likely to use... okay. Here's something. Teachers who received training in the area of instructional technology were found more likely than those who had not to use computers in effective ways such as simulations, applications, and math learning games. So, kind of going back with what we already discovered, that teachers who are not familiar with the text or the concept or the material really don't incorporate it. They have to be familiar with it in order to understand it. Teachers don't know how to use it, so how can they demonstrate its use to kids? That's not what I just wanted to copy and paste. It's just going to let me, there we go, copy that section. It's a confidence thing. Teachers aren't confident in their skills. Nobody likes to appear incompetent. So why would they want to showcase that to students if they don't know what they're doing? How can they expect students to know what they're doing? Which is a legitimate question. I mean, if I don't know what I'm doing, or if I don't know the purpose for doing something, I'm not going to assign it to my students to do if I can't justify to them the application and or practicality of a lesson. I'm not going to have them write an essay in English class just for the sake of an essay. There needs to be some sort of application. Alright, we were working on capitalization, and I want to see how well you can write it actually in a paper. But not only are we going to focus on capitalization, we are going to analyze the use of symbolism and To Kill a Mockingbird. So now in their paper, they have two focuses: the actual content of the symbolic nature of To Kill a Mockingbird, and then they have the grammatical of the capitalization features. And so there's two different things that I would be looking for within an assignment. And if I wanted them to do this on a technology base, and I didn't have any reason, alright, I'm going to have you make a PowerPoint. I mean, it's what am I trying to get them to learn? What am I trying to get them to do? If I'm having them to make a PowerPoint just so that way I can say I incorporated technology, that's kind of a defeatist mentality that they don't get anything out of it. So I can understand that portion. Let's copy this PDF so that way I can find it later on if I need to go back into it, paste that into my boxes if it will let me. Okay, well, at this point in my lesson, or my conversation, my computer decided to kick me offline as I am working at school. So you can see at the top it says trying to connect. So I'm going to pause and disconnect and then reconnect. Okay, so now that I'm reconnected, I can paste in that PDF document so that way I can find it later. And then this is, we're not effective, so this is going to tell us why teachers choose not to incorporate that. So we're going to highlight that red for an against argument. Let's see what else this math article can tell us as I skim through here. Programs across technology standards challenge education programs across the nation to address the need to produce computer literate teachers who are not just knowledgeable of the internet, word processing programs, spreadsheets, presentation software, but are also confident in the ability to incorporate instructional software and websites to everyday classroom teaching. Wow, that was a mouthful. Okay, that is true. And, oops, my mouse jumped back up. Teachers' ability to select appropriate software and websites is an essential component of the ultimate success of effectively ingraining instructional technologies into classroom teaching. So, if it's a teacher's ability to select appropriate software, how do you determine what's appropriate and what's not? That's something that I have often struggled with. I mean, I like this one website, or we use something like this, and something unforeseeable happens. The other day, we were having sound issues while trying to watch a relevant YouTube video in my English class based on the short story, The Interlopers. And because we were having sound issues and whatnot, I turned on the closed captions. to try and help my kids out so that way they could at least read the context. I mean, hindsight, is perfect in 2020 and all that, because the captions were nothing like what the text was going on or what the sound was, and it actually turned into a disaster. So here I was trying to incorporate technology and sharing this interpretation of this story with my kids, but then the appropriate software of a closed caption, which in most cases should be perfectly legitimate and perfectly acceptable to use in a classroom, kind of destroyed my lesson. So, I did not anticipate anything like that happening with the appropriate software. I mean, it's there as a tool to use, so why would they give it to me if there's not some accountability, I guess, with it? And I think it's reasons like this. You try something, I found this YouTube video of this short story, and then we can do a compare and contrast, which is what we did, because they're completely different. And what turns to show my kids, give them this visual, what potentially was a really cool adaptation and instructional connection, was disastrous. So how am I to know if that's going to happen again? This one time, if that was an older teacher trying to do this and they incorporated that and had these disastrous results, is that really going to encourage them to do more technology integration? Because I really don't think it would. I think it's going to deter them. And that deterring factor leads back to old school teaching methods, which argumentably are no longer valid for this type of learner. I don't know. It's a puzzle. It's a conundrum. It is. Oops. Actually, we are going to cut that back out. Nope. It's not going to let me cut it. Yes, allow access. Because I want to put it here, because it's that same article. So we have a 1. Oh. And then we have a 2. Not all of it, just this box. Okay. Alright, so the math article is giving me a little more than I really anticipated it giving me. Pre-service, training sessions, results, intro sessions, evaluations, lesson plans, reactions. Read a second question, reflect on their experience, comment on positive and negative aspects of the training sessions. Okay, question 94% of service teachers viewed training sessions completely positive. Of those responding to different problem on our website respond. Conclusions and recommendations. Alright, let's see what we came to our conclusion. Positive effects on teaching and learning when technology is used to its fullest potential. It is therefore important that teacher education programs determine effective ways to prepare teachers to integrate technology into their classrooms. That's all well and good, but what about people that are not in their pre-service years? What about the 10-plus year veteran who's been teaching and can't keep up with all this new technology that comes up? In addition to all of our new teaching requirements, now we have to go out and find this new technology and then figure out ways to adapt it. I mean, it's kind of hard. Teachers are asked to do a lot, and sometimes you have to draw a line when enough is enough. It's not enough for administration to send out, hey, I want you to start creating your own web page. Okay? That's great for some people who have the time and the knowledge and the know-how, But those people that don't, that's where you're going to struggle. I think maybe that's one thing that we need to look at, is how administrators encourage technology. So I'm going to actually jot that down. Administrators encourage, I'm going to say support technology integration. That might be something that we need to look at, is because I think how much administrators encourage that, because it's not enough to say that you have to do something. You kind of have to give the time. If you want quality work, just like a student, if you want quality work, you need to give them ample time to do it. If you expect them to read Huck Finn, which is a terribly hard book with all the language dialects, you cannot expect a student to read that overnight. It's too difficult of a text, too long of a text. You cannot expect, the same thing's true of your staff. You cannot expect your staff to, in a night, in a week, develop the best web page ever. Okay, education's evolving, technology's evolving, you have to evolve with it. But at the same time, you have to have the skills and the know-how to make education relevant, not only for technology use in the classroom, but for technology use for teachers. Alright, well, kind of bored with this math one. Got some good stuff out of it. Let's see what else I can come up with. This report calls for greater support for teachers in learning to use technology. There are reasons to view. Oh, this is kind of what I was talking about. Integration. Saskatchewan. School trustees. PEDRA uses potential misuses of technology in the broader definition. There's a need to move beyond acquisition tools and development of techniques that teachers and students are to profit from greater access to technology. Greater support for teachers in learning how to use technology effectively in the classroom. Wow, it's 36 pages. That is quite a lot of reading. Okay, let's see what the summary tells. Maybe the summary can give us a little tidbit. We've had the opportunity to challenge and to explore the potential benefits of the most significant developments in communication since the invention of a movable type. Ha! Gotta love typewriters. However, planning must ensure that priority is given to the quality of teaching and learning, and that educators at all levels understand the pedagogical relevance of these new technologies. There you go. Educators have to understand the relevance as well. They don't understand the connection. How can they incorporate that to their students? Okay, so as well as the teaching planning. And I think this is another part of this, is that planning must ensure that priority is given to the quality of teaching and learning. And then that's not talking about the teaching and learning of students. That's talking about the teaching and learning of staff. So that staff can understand how this works. Staff can understand the breakdown. Staff can figure out what the nitty-gritty is and then be able to break it down further to explain it in a process that's step-by-step for their students. If I don't know how to create a Prezi and how things work, how am I supposed to tell my students, besides make a Prezi and then just leave it at that? I'm supposed to act as their guide and facilitator, their teacher. If I don't know what I'm doing, how can I expect them to? I think that's a valid point. And because of that, I'm going to add it into my box. Let's see here. I don't know really what color to give this, because it doesn't tell why teachers do or why teachers don't. I feel it's kind of a gray area. So we might leave that one black, but I am going to go back up here and switch this one to red. Okay. And let's scroll back up here to the top. integration of technology and instructional perspective would be our title. All the crazy big fonts. Okay. And then my web address. Okay. Let's see what else we can come up with. That was only the second paragraph. Technology has been acquired by schools to support learning about. It's now possible to consider technology for its potential in supporting learning with technology. Letter application various types. Effective use of technology to support teaching and learning across the curriculum has the potential to transform the learning environment. While there are calls to use technology to restructure, there are reasons to view these calls with a critical stance, to recognize that few blueprints for this type of massive change exist. Rather, there is much experimental use of technology in classroom learning. Many attempts to implement change are locally conceived and often dependent upon the leadership of certain key educational leaders. While this may be perceived as meeting immediate needs, there are reasons to believe that, such as a strategy, is adequate to bring about significant effective change that's possible with these new technologies. Alright, I kind of agree with that entire paragraph. It makes sense to me. Effective use of technology dependent on key leadership. So, blueprints. This is new. I think this part right here. While there are calls to use technology to restructure, there are reasons to view these calls with a critical stance and to recognize that few blueprints for this type of massive change exist. Right? In an age where we've had education almost a cookie cutter method, alright, you want to teach British literature, okay, buy the textbook for British literature and go with it. You want to teach biology, select the textbook and follow the textbooks. Those textbooks have been almost cookie cutter designs with step-by-step process, alright? You go from chapter 1 to chapter 2 to chapter 3, and that's unit 1. Unit 1 will lead into 2, 3, 4, 5, and you gotta cover as much as you can in a school year. And so with that access to information as a cookie cutter, the actual implementation's been left up to the teacher. Technology has thrown that for a loop, because now you don't have necessarily the cookie cutter textbook to follow, because there's so many different variations and so much more information available that you could spend a whole year talking about the animal kingdom with so many different connections and so many different possibilities that is a huge change. And traditionally, people are scared of change. They don't like change. They are good with how things are working. And if it's working for them, why should they have to change? So this change on a structural level for schools is often very scary for teachers who have not grown up in necessarily the technology age. And so I think this massive change is actually one of the things that challenges teachers on an intellectual as well as emotional, personal level. They are attached to that curriculum, they are attached to that textbook, and now all of a sudden you're telling them to throw the textbook out. What do you mean? How am I going to teach if I can't use that textbook? And so I think that is another reason why you have some people that are so resistant. Another part that I like that I just read here is that are locally conceived and dependent upon the learning of educational leaders. And so actually I'm going to cut that one out and I'm going to put that below this part with administrators encourage and support technology integrations. Interesting. Okay, 36 pages and I've only read the first 4 paragraphs. There's a lot in here, I guess. More than I would have expected. Let's see if we can find anything else with just this synopsis. Weaknesses, did not achieve transformation more. Here's the other. This is what I was talking about earlier. Adding new technologies to an existing system does not achieve transformation so much as the addition of more responsibilities for technical creative approaches by teachers. You're adding to this, okay? It's adding, and some are not ready for that adding. Continues on, some teachers will feel comfortable with adding technology in their teaching. However, other teachers may perceive technology as demanding too much time and effort for the limited benefits they perceive will accrue them or their students. Okay, so I'm going to take this one. Oops. I'm going to copy this as well. If I can. Computer, let me copy. Nope. Not going to copy. There we go. Okay, and we're still in this portion. But this part right here, I'm changing to green, to my green, because that's a different one. And I need to add some numbers, otherwise I'm going to get all sorts of tangled up here. So that way I can see, because colors are going to be meshed here. And confusion is not always a good thing. Okay. Various types, implications, comments, words, make different purposes. Line and this is another one that goes right here. The reliance upon tool-type software in classroom creates significant demands on the teacher without adequate provision for training and the continuing the support necessary for teachers to implement these methods successfully. I cannot tell you how much I hate it when I'm shown a tool and says, all right, look, this is a new tool that's out there. It's free to teachers. By all means, go out and use it. Okay, that's great. I'm glad you show me the tool, but in addition to being shown the tool, I would also like to be shown how I can directly apply it. Give me some examples so that way I can think. I do better when I have an example, something to look at, something to compare. So even if you show me a science one, I should being the keyword, be able to develop one similar to what you've shown me based on that model for my English classes or for my history classes. There's always some connection. It does do better, especially the first time around, if you are able, as the administrator, as the professional development coordinator, whoever you are, curriculum director, if you are showing some new information, a new piece of technology to people, that you have a variety of examples for a variety of age groups, for a variety of content areas to showcase. It is not good for people to see if you show them just 5th grade math every time. That's great. 5th grade math teachers are going to be jumping all over it and are going to be excited. As a high school English teacher and history teacher, I'm going to be like, I don't see the relevance of this to English and history whatsoever. And then if I can't see that relevance, or I can't see the connection, or I can't see how to adapt it to my own classrooms, logically, the next step is I'm not going to use it, which is harmful for my students. There has to be some sort of connection.